of faith in today's culture would be someone who just, believes in his religion. He doesn't have to necessarily go to church or anything, as long as he believes it like in his heart fully.
Somebody who believes in God and maybe in Jesus and who stands for the things he's doing.
Say I believe in something and everyone's going to make fun of me for what I believe in, but I still pursue that and act that way in front of those people.
To be a man of faith, I think you need to be someone who doesn't sin too much, don't kill anyone, and going to church every weekend is what you should do.
A man of faith is following what you believe in.
Making the right decisions.
Stick with your own beliefs and your own values.
Someone who follows beliefs.
You have faith and you spread God's word.
Be a good person, go to church, and just try not to do anything mean to anybody.
Someone who has trust and relies on God for their strength and stuff.
They went against what everybody thought, which is kind of like what Jesus did, because he went completely against what other people thought in his time. So he was a man of faith. So people who can do that in our time would definitely be admirable.
So, Abe, you got what it takes to be a man?
Oh yeah, of course I do. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm strong, I'm intelligent, I like to watch sports all the time, and I never cry.
Okay, well, what about faith? Have you ever thought about what it takes to be a man of faith?
You mean like a priest or something?
Well, not necessarily, but just someone who's rooted in their Catholic teaching.
Well, I don't know. I mean, now that you mention it, I do often try to bring myself closer to God. Every day my relationship with him is different. I try to practice my faith, going to church every Sunday, and I try to be rooted in my values and make moral choices, throughout my day.
Way to go, Abe.
Thanks, Gabby. Being a man of faith, that's what we'll be talking about. Hi, everyone. I'm Abe.
And I'm Gabby.
And this is RealfaithTV. Most of the teens on the street had a good idea of who a man of faith is.
Especially in the time when more and more people are separating themselves from religion.
We'll talk to them more in a few minutes, as well as meet our studio guests.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, John. He'll describe what it means to be a man of faith.
For you to be a man of faith, for you to believe in anything, you have to let yourself be taught what those things are. I try to become this kind of man by just immersing myself in a lot of different materials. Something that tells me I have to go deeper in my faith, something that will really challenge me to explore a relationship with God. And we all need peer role models. I have many fond memories of going down the shore with different friends of mine, our youth group, and we're just having a great time playing volleyball, going swimming, praying, going to Mass, going away for a retreat someplace, going to Mass and then going to play basketball or going out to eat. Different positive experiences, different role models that we surround ourselves with. And that's what we all really need. We need different people our own age to show us that we can also live our lives better. Society is always promoting just do whatever you want right now, make sure you just live in this moment, just live pleasurably. But to really live in the moment, you really have to serve and you have to love. And that's going to make each moment special. It's very difficult for youth today to try to strive to become a man of faith. Because without some support, you're going to fall. And very often, if you don't build that foundation well enough, if you don't surround yourself with good people, if you don't surround yourself with the sacraments, these winds that society is going to just throw at you is going to knock you over.
The people that we surround ourselves with, the role models, that's what he's talking about, so that guys like you can become people of faith.
Yeah, and I think the comment he made about serving is interesting too, because Jesus was the greatest example of this, especially in the time when he washed the disciples' feet, and they all looked at him and were like, "You're our master, you're a teacher, why are you washing our feet?" And he said, in order to love and to teach, you have to serve. Well, let's see how our studio guests think about this topic.
Okay, well they are Justin, Jackie, Vince, Sarah, Emily, Chris, and Annie.
What are qualities that you think describe being a man?
Some of the stuff Abe said in the beginning, like being the strong one,
or maybe not crying, holding your feelings in, like people always say to me, you know, man up. That's some of the stuff portrayed in the media, but then I think it's portrayed so much that men do believe that they can't show their feelings and they have to be the big guy.
I think that over time, the definition or the qualities of being a man have changed. Being communicative and being, you know, emotional has been accepted for men. So I think that there's a lot of qualities between physical strength and mental strength, and then emotional, you know, emotionality, I suppose.
It's okay to cry, you know. If you're a guy, you know, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to get angry. But I think as a man, we have to learn to control our emotions and our desires and our impulses. We have to have control of those things inside of us. We can't let our emotions control us. Because, as Vince was saying, oftentimes, even though society has changed and women do play a bigger role, sometimes men still need to be like the rock and the foundation of the family. In times of crisis, you have to know how to deal with it and how to control like the things that you just want to burst out of you, because you can't let your kids see you, you know, all like, rah, you know, and having respect for the things around them, respect for women especially, and having honor. It's no secret that our media culture is saturated with depictions of men that are less than flattering.
Many advertisements often show men as underachievers, unintelligent, incompetent, lazy, and driven by possessions, partying, and sex.
While it's easier for most of us to laugh off these kinds of stereotypes,
they reveal a different perception of men than what was seen in previous generations.
Unfortunately, the effects can be quite damaging, especially for young people desiring good male role models in their lives.
Add faith into the mix, and men living out their Catholic beliefs are in many cases perceived as weak, effeminate, and even bigoted.
So is it any wonder why it's increasingly difficult to be a man of faith in today's world?
Well, that's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's hear what they had to say.
It is pretty difficult because most kids my age are not going to wake up to go to church in the morning. They're just busy doing other things.
There's just so many like different tests that there are, and some people just stray. And
a guy, you know, going to church, like a lot of people like, oh, you think you're corny for it, but I don't really care. You know, I go to church.
I think it's difficult for people to live a life rooted in their faith today because of there's just so many things out there that question it.
Males are kind of brought up to be more like, I guess, violent and vulgar and more aggressive.
It's very difficult because people are judging you and what you believe in, and if you're like open about it, they might think different things about you.
Just a lot of bad stuff going on in the world today. It's hard to be a faithful man.
And it's very hard to resist temptation.
Everybody ready?
Because temptation is everywhere around us.
It's just not easy because of the society. People, it just gets normal to do bad things like drinking alcohol, taking drugs.
I don't think that is difficult. I think it's just a choice that you have to make within yourself when you're ready to do it, when you can fully commit.
I think it's extremely difficult. There's a lot of temptation. There is a lot of things that are tough to deal with as young men. I mean, it's not the cool thing to do, to be a man of faith. It's something that's tough, but you have to have a strong faith and a strong family sometimes to make it through.
Who are examples and role models of authentic manhood for you?
You know, Jesus Christ, he's just very humble and he didn't like take any credit for things, and you know, he was just doing good for others. And I also think a role model for me would be my father. Just, you know, doing a lot and sacrificing a lot for me and for my sister, just like Jesus sacrificed for us and died on the cross. I think sacrificing for others and, you know, sacrificing your time or even yourself is just a great thing to do.
My father, all the sacrifices that he's made for not only me, but for my family, my sisters, and for my mother and my extended family is incredible, and he's always willing to go the extra mile of service if it's for another person.
I know this is probably going to sound weird to all of you, but a good male role model, I'd have to say one is Albert Einstein. How many people know about the side of his life, like his devotion to his wife? And I had an Albert Einstein calendar, I remember, and a lot of the quotes in the calendar were actually about his wife. He was a very devoted man to the love for his wife and his family, you know, and I think that is a very authentic man.
Being a man has so much to do with being there for your family. And so my role model is my dad because, I mean, even though he used to call himself Mr. Mom because he always stayed home with us when my mom went to work, well, to me, that's more of being a man because he was always there for us.
My role model is my religion teacher. He was an athlete. I mean, he's a big guy, and yet he's still so like at peace with himself, and like it's really weird because I wouldn't expect him to be. I remember every day before class he'd ask, when he's going through the roll call, he would ask us how our day's going.
Well, Job of the Old Testament is a great example of a man living out this idea of authentic manhood, or masculinity rooted in God.
We all know Job had to endure many trials and tribulations in his life.
But his willingness to accept God's will, even in his darkest hour, is witness to the immeasurable strength of the human spirit.
Through his distress, God gave Job the wisdom to understand that the Lord can give and take away as he pleases.
And still, Job remained his faithful servant.
Next, John talks to us about where he sees men of faith in his life.
And how he was not always in tune to his role as follower of Christ.
I know several people who are real men of faith, one in particular who is a good friend of mine. He's always challenged me to grow in my faith, and he lives an extraordinary example of what it is to be a man of faith. For instance, he would just invite me to pray just if we were in the car together on the way to some place. And he was never afraid to just make that a part of his shared experiences with other people. It's John Paul II. He was a great role model, he was a great man of faith, and people really couldn't help but recognize that he had an impact, and a great positive impact. In the last several years, I've come to a realization that I wasn't happy with where my life was spiritually. I was very comfortable for a long time, and I felt that I would just be fine, just go along with the flow. And then I saw some other my friends and what they were saying and how that was affecting me, challenging me. I said, I have to go out there and seek those things that would improve myself. I was always very complacent. I really didn't challenge myself. I just kind of went with the flow, and I felt like if I just let that continue, then I would be someplace where I don't want to be.
So what are some ways that we can help our guy friends become the men that they're called to be?
Talk to them and tell them, like, it's okay, you're allowed to have emotions, you're allowed to feel pain and cry and be angry, and then they will eventually grow and be the men that they are called to be. I know one thing that I always tell my friends, whether guy or girl, always express who you are, what you feel, and what you love. Because expression is really our best form of communication today.
Like Jackie said, don't be afraid to hide your emotions, and it's always good to talk it out.
A lot of my guy friends, when they come to me for help, one of the things I often tell them, don't be something you're not. Don't be fake. Just be real. And above all, have confidence. Believe in yourself, and to have that inner strength. Not physical strength, like this society portrays men having, the outer strength, but inner strength, spiritual, mental strength.